Two soldiers in dark water, 7:33 in the evening. Gulf of Oman, a U.S. Army, AH-64. Apache attack helicopter, one of the most lethal rotary-wing aircraft ever built, armed with Hellfire missiles and a 30mm chain gun, flown by two of the most trained aviators the 82nd Airborne Division produces, went down into the water. Both pilots survived the impact. They were now in the Gulf of Oman, after dark, in hostile airspace, in the same airspace that had just destroyed their helicopter. Think about what that moment looks like from the water. The surface is black. There is no horizon. The rotor wash is gone. The engine noise is gone. There is only the sound of the Gulf around them, and somewhere above, the threat that put them there, still in the sky. The clock started the moment they hit the surface. Every minute they spent in that water was a minute inside a threat envelope. Every rescue option that required putting another aircraft into that airspace was a minute closer to a second aircraft going down. The military needed something that could enter that zone without a crew to lose. Something that could find two men in dark water without a pilot to put at risk. Something that, if it got shot at, could be replaced. What answered that call was already in the water. This is the story of the first combat sea rescue ever performed by an unmanned vessel, and what it means for every pilot who will ever go down over contested water after June 8, 2026. The problem with sending a helicopter. Standard combat search and rescue doctrine is built around one asset, a rescue helicopter. It has governed military rescue for 80 years. A pilot goes down, you send helicopters. Brave crews fly into the same threat environment that produced the casualty. Sometimes they succeed, sometimes they don't come back either. The previous Apache rescue this year, an F-15E crew shot down inside Iran, required multiple aircraft. Rescue helicopters took small arms fire. Crew members were wounded. An HC-130 refueling tanker conducted low-level operations under threat. A-10 Thunderbolts flew close air support to protect the rescuers. The operation succeeded. It cost blood. On the night of June 8, the airspace above two soldiers floating in the Gulf of Oman was the same airspace that had just brought down their Apache. President Trump later confirmed from Madison Square Garden, where he was attending Game 3 of the NBA Finals, that Iranian forces had shot down the helicopter. Sending a rescue helicopter into that corridor meant accepting that it might not come back either. More crew, more aircraft, more potential casualties in an attempt to prevent them. The alternative was already 10 weeks in the water. The Corsair. What the Corsair is. The Saronic Corsair is 24 feet long, the length of a large speedboat. It runs on diesel. Top speed above 35 knots. Payload capacity, 1,000 pounds. Operational range, 1,000 nautical miles with no crew aboard. It carries radar, cameras, satellite communications, and an AI-driven detection system that was built for one primary purpose: finding threats in contested waterways. The system was designed to identify Iranian fast attack craft in the Strait of Hormuz, to track suspicious vessels, to flag anomalies in maritime traffic patterns at night, at speed, in the dark. On the night of June 8, it found something different. Two soldiers in black water. The system built to track threats located the people those threats had put in the water. In late March 2026, Corsairs arrived in the Middle East with Task Force 59, the U.S. Navy's dedicated unmanned systems and AI integration unit, based in Bahrain, built for surveillance and force protection across the Strait of Hormuz. Task Force 59 had been in theater for exactly 10 weeks when the Apache went down. Combat search and rescue was never in its mission description, not once. 7:33 p.m. The launch. The moment the distress call was confirmed, Task Force 59 identified its closest capable asset. The Corsair was already in the water. It launched from its patrol position. No crew aboard, no pilot at the controls, running on diesel and AI, and a satellite data link back to operators in Bahrain. CENTCOM spokesperson Captain Tim Hawkins described the reasoning plainly. When it comes to search and rescue, you utilize the best asset that is the closest and the quickest, and that was the case in this instance. The vessel crossed the Gulf at above 35 knots. Its 360-degree passive sensing system activated, scanning dark water in every direction simultaneously. Processing the surface returns the way it was trained to, looking for objects of interest. On this night, the objects of interest were two men. The Corsair found them. The two pilots climbed aboard. 1,000 pounds of payload capacity, enough for two soldiers and their equipment. The vessel did not immediately return through the active threat corridor directly above where the Apache went down. It moved laterally, carrying the two men across the water away from the airspace where the Iranian threat was still present to a position where a manned helicopter could safely operate. The HH-60W Jolly Green II combat rescue helicopter was already in the air. An HC-130J Combat King refueling aircraft was providing aerial support. The combined operation, drone boat on the surface, rescue helicopter overhead, tanker aircraft above them, had been practiced in exercises. CENTCOM's Hawkins acknowledged, "We've practiced this scenario in exercises, but not quite necessarily like this." The helicopter met the Corsair at the safer position on the water. Both soldiers were hoisted from the drone boat's deck, up into the helicopter, off the surface, out of the Gulf, airborne, alive. 2 hours from the moment their helicopter hit the water to the moment they were aboard a manned aircraft heading to medical care. What those 2 hours contained. Stop here and consider what actually happened inside that window. An Apache goes down in hostile airspace at night. A 24-foot robot boat, operated by a unit that had never been asked to do this before, launches from its patrol position, guided by an AI system designed to hunt enemy ships, which tonight found two men in dark water instead. It pulled them from the Gulf without a single additional crew member inside the threat zone. It carried them laterally across the water to a position where a manned helicopter could safely operate. It handed them off. 2 hours. 0 additional casualties. Not one. The Corsair did not hesitate. It did not calculate its own risk. It did not get scared or disoriented in the dark. It scanned the surface, found the men, moved to them, and stayed with them until the handoff was complete. Brigadier General Buckley, speaking after the operation, said it the way every rescue commander would want it said. "If they get shot at, we're launching another one. We can launch a bunch of them. Nobody's getting a folded casket." That sentence, said plainly, matter-of-factly, is the one that should land hardest, because it represents a shift in military rescue doctrine that has no real precedent in 80 years of combat search and rescue. Before June 8th, rescuing a downed crew meant accepting the risk of losing another crew. After June 8th, that equation has a different term in it. What this changes. The war zone's analysis of the rescue was precise. Corsair's overall performance in the Middle East could easily translate to further operational use of this USV by the Navy globally. But the implications go beyond procurement. The Corsair can operate in networked swarms, multiple vessels deployed simultaneously, covering wider search areas, each expendable, none carrying crew. Its passive detection system works day or night in congested waterways. Its operational range covers the entire CENTCOM theater from a single base in Bahrain. And at $1.2 million per unit, less than the cost of a single Hellfire missile salvo from the Apache it just rescued. It represents a different kind of arithmetic for military commanders planning rescue operations. Every air force in the world that loses a pilot over contested water now has a documented operational model for what a recovery mission can look like, without putting another aircraft into the same threat. The additional detail CENTCOM confirmed is notable. The Corsair did not just locate the pilots and wait for helicopters to arrive at the crash site. It moved them. It carried them laterally across the threat zone to a safer position before handing off to manned aircraft. That pattern, unmanned vehicle, penetrates the threat area, recovers personnel, transports them to a safer zone for extraction by crewed platforms, is the hub-and-spoke architecture that military planners have theorized about for years. On June 8, 2026, it wasn't a theory. It was two soldiers from the 82nd Airborne in the Gulf of Oman at night going home. CENTCOM confirmed both were in stable condition. Trump posted the update from courtside. "The pilots are fine, nobody injured." The Corsair returned to its patrol position. No fanfare, no ceremony. The AI reset its detection parameters. The diesel engines idled down to cruise speed. Task Force 59 logged the mission and continued operations. The Gulf of Oman is still a war zone. The threat that shot down the Apache is still out there. But the next time a pilot goes down over contested water, anywhere in the world, Every commander who read the after-action report from June 8th is going to ask the same question first. Do we have a Corsair in the water?